Crime, gun control, and the Second Amendment. Our Second Amendment limits gun control laws that can be passed in our country. But in other countries, they have gun control laws and still are not able to prevent violent crimes with these laws. Good evening. My name is Chuck Bogadine. Today, I'm going to cover a very controversial topic about gun ownership and whether or not stronger controls reduce violent crimes. As someone that has a concealed carry permit, I have watched the headlines with concern for a constitutional freedom that I hold dear. In an article written by Stephen Holbrook in 2003, entitled How the Nazis Used Gun Control, Stephen points out that the gun control debate is not new to America. It's actually started in the 1920s in Germany, in the Weimar Republic, where they actually limited gun ownership and required them to register their guns. And in that process then had a list of who did and didn't have guns and required them to turn over their guns. And unfortunately, law-abiding citizens did, but the communists and Nazis did not. Fewer guns does not necessarily mean less violent crimes. Murderers will be murderers. That's just the truth of it. Britain collected all but 8 registered guns in 2003, and their murder rate still rose to 18 per million. Chicago's ban of 1983, they had a murder rate of 22.5 that raised to 33.5 by 1993. In an article by Agresti and Smith, gun control facts were stated from a study done in 2004 of prisoners and how they got handguns. 40% of those prisoners actually got their handguns through illegal sources. And then about 38% of them or so obtained those handguns via family and friends, while leaving the remainder of the percentage to just random things like gun shows, pawn shops, and things of that nature. As we have covered, violent crimes actually went up in the time frames that the handguns were banned in Chicago and in Britain. Concealed carry is something that some say might actually help reduce these statistics. In Florida in 1973, they actually had a murder rate of 15.5 per 100,000. And then in 1987, when they set the concealed carry laws that went into effect, by 1991 to 2005, they've seen a significant drop in those murder rates, even to the point of being below the national average. And then in 2005, they've seen a slight tick up in the rates. Also, John Lott noted from FoxNews.com in July of 2014 article that there were 6 states that didn't require you to have a concealed carry license, and they actually had less crime. These patterns are also seen internationally. The Soviet Union has the highest murder rate in the world, but in the 1960s, they actually confiscated everyone's guns. And by 1970, their murder rate exceeded what some would say was the gun-ridden country in the world, which is America, by some standards. And that was per Cates and Mauser in the spring of 2007 in an article entitled, "Would Banning Firearms Reduce Murder and Suicide? A Review of International and Some Domestic Evidence." As we see here, places that allow concealed carry actually see a reduced rate. In violent crimes. Finally, we'll look at the Second Amendment and the right that it secures for us as Americans. There are groups that want to change the Second Amendment altogether and take the right of gun ownership away from the general public. John Paul Stevens, a retired Supreme Court justice, actually would like to see the Constitution reworded and have the line, "when serving in the militia," added, which drastically changes what the Second Amendment actually reads. And that was in an article called "Gun Control and the Constitution. Should we amend the Second Amendment?" And that was written by Barrett in 2014. Our Second Amendment protects our rights to bear arms, but it also is set to protect us against anyone that would do us harm, even our own government. In summary, we've seen that violent crimes actually went down once gun control laws on handguns were lifted. Gun control obviously has its place, but not at the expense of our Second Amendment, which protects our right. I thank you for your time today and for allowing me to share this information with you.